This video was brought to you by my loyal patrons. Pledge today and receive exclusive perks. Link in the description.
Dear Christopher, here is your friend Thomas the Tank Engine. He wanted to come out of his station yard and see the world. These stories tell you how he did it.
Alright, Season 15 of Thomas and Friends. Man, we are far along. After the atrocious Misty Island rescue and Season 14 last time, this next batch can't be as bad, right?
There was the biggest balloon Thomas. He blew his wonky.
You're not on fire?
Oh, those are all this season. Alright, well, let's just get into it. Season 15's production began in early 2010. This was the first season to feature involvement from longtime series producer Ian McHugh. He joined the team this year as the show's line producer, handling most of the logistical stuff. As we all know, he got quite a bit more involved with the show itself a couple years later. Nitrogen Studios began production on this year's movie, Day of the Diesels, in March 2010. Diesel 10 was brought back as the main villain of the movie, as teased last year in the post-credits scene of Misty Island Rescue. Being a big Diesel-focused special, there were talks early on about bringing in all the Diesel engine characters into the fold for this, including Splatter and Dodge from Magic Railroad, as they were Diesel 10's known henchmen, but this never got past the talking stage. Dennis, a character that we haven't really seen since Season 9, was also considered. All three were canned in favor of bringing in 3 new background Diesels, known during production simply as Temp Diesels. These, of course, became Norman, Paxton, and Sydney. Interestingly, they all reused the same base models of the 3 characters that were canned, BR11001 and 2 Class 08s, respectively. According to Norman's character bio, he and Dennis are canonically related, so Dennis wasn't totally forgotten, at least. There has been much talk about how Day of the Diesels was originally much darker than the movie we got. Rumors speculated that this early version of the movie was tonally much darker, with different plot points that were changed over time. Well, that's not really the case. As Ian McHugh disclosed in an email to a fan, Day of the Diesels was indeed originally much darker. Literally, not tonally. Scenes like the line-side fire in the opening scene featured much heavier smoke, and the interior lighting of the Diesel Works was more moody. Allegedly, the scene where Percy first arrived at the Diesel Works took place at night. This first cut was pretty much the same as the final version we got. It was just literally darker, and was sent back to Nitrogen at Hit's request to brighten it up a bit. Rupert Degas officially joined the voice cast this year, after auditioning for Diesel 10 last year. He took over a ton of characters, all of which speak for the first time this season, including Birdie, Dart, Flynn, and Butch. For some strange reason, Season 15 aired surprisingly early, in March of 2011, long before Day of the Diesels premiered in late summer, meaning all the new characters like Belle, Flynn, etc. all made their debuts in these episodes, rather than in the special, all of which take place after the special. It's such a mess. Day of the Diesels is frankly not as bad as I remember, but it's still pretty bad. Just like before, I brought Trampy along for the ride, and we watched it together. For him, it was his first ever time seeing it.
They're just rage baiting Percy. Oh, Percy, I'm sorry. We were just busy hanging out without you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Percy. Bye-bye, Percy.
So he'll be giving you all his thoughts on things here too. Our watch-along highlights are up now on my second channel, link below. So, Day of the Diesels. Everything special that this movie does, other Thomas movies before and after have done far better. Percy as the lead? Tell the Brave did it better. Diesel 10 as the main villain? Way better in Magic Railroad. A Percy and Thomas fallout? Again, way better in Tell the Brave. A big be-all, end-all Steamy versus Diesel conflict? We already did that in Calling All Engines. and for how mid that special is, yeah, it did it better. Let's get into it. The plot of this is Thomas starts taking a liking to some new engines, and starts spending all his time with them instead of Percy. Percy, feeling neglected, seeks friendship from others, and falls into the wrong hands. Diesel lures him to the Diesel Works, where he meets again with Diesel 10. Diesel 10 has his own plans, and manipulates Percy into thinking he's friends with them to help him with his ultimate goal, to take over the Steamworks. I applaud the notion to give Percy the lead of this. It's a breath of fresh air seeing a movie that isn't about Thomas. I'm not really a fan of Percy's arc in this though, and how he's characterized. He's just so stupid in it. Like, I know Percy is not the brightest bulb in the box, and he is the child of the main group, but the fact he's unable to see through the Diesel's pretty frankly transparent motives, and quickly becomes so trusting of Diesel 10, feels really out of character to me. Like, I get that's the whole point. He was feeling vulnerable and betrayed by Thomas, so he allowed himself to be blinded and manipulated. But the Percy we know, the real Percy, is so much smarter than that. The fact all it took for him to get to such a point was to just see Thomas spend time with another engine. They act like the two are totally inseparable, like Thomas is cheating on him or something. It's way too simple. There's one scene in particular that I think demonstrates this the best, and it's this one. Percy arrives home to see his place in the sheds has been taken by the new guy. Like, yeah, I'd be upset too if I came home and this new guy was in my spot. And Thomas has like zero reaction to this. I mean, the guy is starting to cry and he doesn't say anything? What a horrible friend. Compare this moment with Tale of the Brave, where Percy and Thomas's fallout was way more nuanced. Percy felt betrayed because Thomas wouldn't support him when he said he saw a monster in the night.
There are monsters on Sodor. You saw those enormous footprints. Tell them!
I don't know what I saw, Percy, but I don't think it could have really been a monster.
Thomas, being true to himself in that moment, unfortunately had his own knowledge on the subject, which we understand completely because we saw how he came to that conclusion earlier, and it just didn't align with his friends. Thomas clearly feels guilty about it and tries to make it up to Percy, but Percy needs space, and he ends up making a pretty rash decision as a form of retaliation. Both characters act pretty naturally. They're aware of each other's feelings, and we, the audience, understand where both of them are coming from. Whereas here, I just think, what the hell is even going on through Thomas's head right now? Is he totally blind to how Percy's feeling? Does he even care? I think this story suffers from not giving any focus on Thomas to understand his perspective on things. Since we don't know what's going on with him, he just comes off as a bad friend. A single scene at the end where the two have a heart-to-heart, explain why they did what they did, and apologize to each other would have gone a long way. But of course, we don't get that. We get this mushy crap instead.
When I'm with you, I feel most proud of all, and most special of all.
Percy and Thomas both suck in this. Let's move on to Diesel 10. This was his big comeback as a major villain. I don't dislike this portrayal of him, as a seedy, conniving, plays the long game type of villain. It's a fun take on the character. I'm not a big fan of the voice though. He kinda just sounds like some guy.
The Steamworks is ours now!
That is not his voice. What the fuck was that?
That didn't sound anything like the voice.
That was not his voice.
That was just guy. That was just a guy voice.
It's like, dude, Diesel 10 loses like, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Diesel 10 loses like 75% of his sauce when he just sounds like a normal guy.
You're right. He's
totally supposed to sound like a nut job.
That's like, yeah, that's like
he's
the
supposed
whole
to,
point.
He is supposed to sound like he's insane.
Diesel 10's plan here doesn't really make any sense. Okay, so the Diesels all feel neglected by Topham because he let their diesel works fall into disrepair. So Diesel 10's plan is to get an engine, Percy, to kidnap Kevin so Victor would leave the Steamworks to go look for him, so it would be left unattended for them to take it over. And do what exactly? Use the Steamworks to mend themselves? Destroy it so the steam engines can feel the same neglect that they feel? No, they just sort of play around in it. This was the end goal? They just wanted a jungle gym? Diesel 10 says taking it over will somehow make Topham listen to them?
When we have the Steamworks, Sir Topham Hatt will listen to us.
How exactly? I would think Topham would be less inclined to give you all a new Diesel Works after something like that. I also don't understand why Victor had to be lured out for the Diesels to take the Steamworks over. I mean, it's not like Victor could do anything if they all charged the Steamworks at once. Diesel 10 could just knock him over if he really wanted to. It's not like Victor has, like, guns and is, like, gonna shoot at them if they come near the Steamworks. Like, I don't know why it's such an obstacle.
Victor takes out his, like, iconic arms, and he pulls out a shotgun, and he's like, don't you dare step inside here.
Comparing this to Magic Railroad, Diesel 10's goal there was very clear. Destroy Lady because that would end life for the steam engines. Here, it's weird and vague, and it doesn't really make any sense. It reads like they just wanted that visual of Diesel 10 spinning on the turntable, and they wrote the entire movie around that. It's just kinda lame here. Let's talk about the Steamy versus Diesel conflict some more, cause this is what? The fourth movie to dabble with that? There are some racist undertones here. The steam engines don't trust the diesels because the stereotype is that they're always up to something. This is emphasized early on by Thomas's statements here.
Sodor Steamies don't go to the Diesel Works, and it's full of diesels. Diesels can be devious.
What's wrong with that, Thomas?
Isn't he friends with, like, Mavis and Salty and all those guys? Like,
Yeah, what if, like, Salty was, like, beside the steamers and listening to that shit?
yeah.
He's like, well, damn, I guess I'll just kill myself, Thomas.
It's kind of convenient that the movie just forgets that there's, like, nice diesels. I want to compare this to Calling All Engines, which does something similar. The Steamies and Diesels do not trust each other in that movie either, but the movie goes out of its way to show that each are just as useful as the other, and just as bad. It doesn't put the steam engines on a pedestal or anything. In fact, the steam engines are the ones that cause the conflict in that. Thomas sets the plot in motion by messing with the Diesels, who are all just trying to do their jobs. He's the bad one. They all fall out, and the movie shows that each side both stoop to the same lows. No one is better than the other here. They all suck. The resolution is found by them coming to an understanding. Thomas makes this speech about how they, as engines, steam or diesel, can only prosper if they all work together, and they all finally see eye to eye. Calling All Engines is pretty meh overall, but it handled this race allegory really tastefully. Here, it's far more black and white. Steam engines are the good guys, diesels are the bad. Thomas's pretty hateful comments end up being totally true, because the Diesels are all devious, and they play Percy. And the resolution to this conflict just kinda happens. Topham steps in and tells everyone to shut up and get along.
Is this the climax of the movie?
This is. It's so nothing.
Is there not gonna be, like, a whole, like... Come on, man.
Like there was this build-up, this whole, like they all charge to the Steamworks. It's this epic thing, and then, like, nothing happens. They just talk.
Oh my god, dude, are you serious?
There isn't really much of a moment where they all come to understand each other. There's the start of a moment like this, but it's kinda undermined by having Topham show up and assert his dominance over them. Nor is there an exciting climax, where the heroes win and the villains get their just dues. Which, in a way simpler movie like this, probably would have been more satisfying. I think I would have liked to see Percy give Diesel 10 his just desserts. I think a better ending could have been a mix of both of them. The Diesels all turn on Diesel 10 when they realize they've taken things too far, and redeem themselves, proving that there is good in them. Diesel 10 remains ruthless to the end, and gets dealt with accordingly. Kevin mentioned early on how he's never met a hero before.
I've never met a hero before. I've never been a hero before.
So maybe this is his moment to prove himself as one. During the confrontation, he slips away and hits a button that starts the Steamworks crane, and it lifts Diesel 10 up and strands him or something. I don't know. Just spitballing here. They all just forget everything and agree to work together, because Topham showed up and put his foot down. Pretty anticlimactic. Topham says this.
You, Diesel 10, are an engine on my railway. You will do as I say, when I say it.
And that just left me wondering, why does Topham own Diesel 10? Why is he here? We're in a different canon than Magic Railroad here, so what is Diesel 10's deal? The monster Diesel with the hydraulic claw works in Magic Railroad because of how the universe is portrayed there, where the engines all drive themselves, there's not much human intervention, magic exists, etc. You don't really question how outlandish he is when everything else in the movie is just as fantastical. But here, in the more grounded canon, he sticks out like a sore thumb. Calling All Engines, surprisingly enough, had the most realistic take on Diesel 10, like a sort of maintenance away machine. Is that the same case here? It kinda seems like Diesel 10 just stays at the dilapidated Diesel Works all day. His lion's den, in the shadows away from the steam engines. And then I was left thinking, this whole conflict only occurred because Topham neglected the Diesel Works. He let it all fall into disrepair, the Steamies didn't. And when the Diesels tried to tell Topham about their problem, they were ignored.
You should tell Sir Topham Hatt that you need a new Diesel Works.
We have. But Sir Topham Hatt doesn't listen to diesels. He only listens to steamies.
So, this is all Topham's fault. It's weird how the Diesels seem more mad at the Steamies than they are at Topham, cause from what I'm understanding, this is a conflict that doesn't even really concern the Steamies. Topham just won't listen to the Diesels, cause he's an asshole, I guess. Combine that with the weird racist undertones, and I actually kinda sympathize more with the villains in this than I do with the heroes. This is essentially a story about an oppressed group rising up, and the oppressor receives no consequence. Topham has this line,
Of course the Diesels will have a new Diesel Works. These things take time.
and like, okay, but you still let it get to a pretty bad point. You clearly favor one group over the other in this. Don't act like you don't.
You must all know that none of my engines is ever forgotten.
Yeah, right, liar. Why don't you go ask Sydney how he feels about that?
Sydney, how long have you been up there? It's been about 2 years. 2 years?
They shouldn't have introduced this Diesels feel neglected dilemma, because I'm not sure there's a way to have it without making Topham just look like an asshole. Maybe if he showed some regret or something, I don't know. The Diesel Works should have just been like an abandoned depot on Sodor that Diesel 10 and his cronies hide out in, because no one ever goes to it. And they coax Percy to come there or something. Diesel 10's motives to take over the Steamworks should have been in aid of a much bigger, entirely selfish scheme of his, that he manages to convince the other Diesels to join him on. If we take it over, the Steamies can't be repaired, and they won't be able to run. Then us Diesels will swoop in and have our day. Who's going to stop us, old fat hat? He so easily could have just grabbed Topham right here and thrown him against the wall. That all being said, Day of the Diesels is not at all the worst Thomas movie. I actually think it's a little better than I remember. Despite all these problems, it does do some things right. I really like Diesel in this. Using him to manipulate Percy to bait him to the Diesel Works was good, and perfectly in character for him. There's hardly any stupid rhyming, which was a real delight. They did a rhyme towards the end that totally caught me off guard.
We'll fetch all our friends. We'll hoot and we'll toot. We'll wheesh and we'll whoosh.
Oh my god. Oh
All right,
my
Thomas,
god.
shut the
Oh
hell
my
up.
god.
Go.
I forgot about the rhyming. Like, this whole movie didn't rhyme at all, really, until just now.
And then Thomas reminded me
That this is a Sharon Miller production. That felt so out of place, wow. And overall, I like the tone of this movie. Structure-wise, it's solid. What happens in one scene affects the next, and so on. Belle and Flynn are whatever characters, but to the movie's credit, there is a point to them being set up. There is a payoff to them. They put out the big fire at the end. Unlike Misty Island, which wastes so much time setting up stuff that doesn't affect the plot. It is definitely a step above Misty Island. A large step above. I might even say that this is better than Bubba. But it's still a snore fest. It's not exactly a very exciting movie, and overall it's just pretty boring. It's a lot of just Percy going back and forth from the steam engines to the diesels, and there's not that much action. It has quite a few problems, and is overall pretty forgettable. Trampy put it best. It's like crazy going from Day of the Diesels to this.
what a f***ing whiplash.
Yeah.
I already forgot everything.
That, in a nutshell, is Day of the Diesels. The biggest nothing burger of a Thomas movie ever. Most of the major stuff that it does Other Thomas movies have done better. So I just did a video on Season 5's scripts, and it is such a contrast going from that to this. Season 15 is pretty hard to sit through. Let's start with the positives, because there's surprisingly a good number of them. There appears to be a new, more dynamic direction with the animation starting with this season, and I really like it. It's nothing too crazy, mind you, but every now and then there will be this awesome shot with the camera placed in a cool spot, like Percy running over the camera here, the opening shot of Day of the Diesels, this shot in Kevin the Steamy. I like how the camera kind of follows Kevin as he skids here, almost like it's handheld. After 2 seasons with a very monotonous direction, this was a nice change up. This is the kind of stuff I love seeing in CGI Thomas. They're starting to fully take advantage of the CGI medium here, and that's great to see. The general world feels a lot more alive this season, with a lot more activity going on in the background. Trains will now just pass by randomly in the middle of a scene, or they'll have some human activity going on somewhere in the shot. I liked seeing some of the subtleties, like how James slowly sinks lower into the mud during his little monologue here, or how Flynn's road wheels sort of dangle and turn when he's in motion. In Stuck on You, James passes Thomas with flatbeds with wheels on them, and when he passes them again later on going the opposite direction, he's pulling that same train, but his flatbeds are empty, implying he took them somewhere to be unloaded. What great attention to detail. The train consists are also a lot more interesting this year, and they're a much more realistic length. No more Gordon pulling just 2 express coaches, or Edward pulling like 2 tankers with no brake van. Now the express consistently has like 4 to 6 coaches, and the goods trains are comprised with a variety of rolling stock. Flatbeds, utility vans, tankers, bogey wagons, etc. It's visual eye candy, and it does wonders for making this feel like a real railway. I can never say that Nitrogen's animation was cheap. The team clearly cared about making these shots look good and fill each scene with substance, whether it be fun rolling stock, people doing something in the background, or just presenting an interesting camera angle. Maybe this was their way of trying to make up for how dull the stories are. The locations used are also a bit more varied this year. They're starting to take advantage of the library of assets that they've built up over the past couple seasons. This is, as far as I know, the only CGI season that uses Arlesdale End, and I like the continuity that it still has the birdhouse from season 10, I think. I wonder if this was one of the sets that was lost when Nitrogen handed everything over to Arc later on, because we never see this place again after this season. A big recurring plot point this season is the engines all taking turns being the island's rescue engine. Edward, James and Toby, and Thomas all have episodes that spotlight this. I don't know why they have to take turns being rescue engines for the rescue center when Belle literally exists. It's weird to me that they have to keep making the main characters rescue engines just to keep the rescue center relevant, instead of just, using the damn rescue team characters. Like, did Thomas really have to be the lead in Stuck on You? Couldn't it have been, say, Flynn meeting Butch for the first time? Doesn't it make way more sense to pair the 2 road characters up? Imagine if James to the Rescue was about Belle and Flynn instead of James and Toby, and it was them figuring out how to rescue someone on their first field mission together, and they keep butting heads and making the situation worse because they haven't learned how to work together yet. Anyways, enough on this topic. Let's get into negatives now. To be honest, there aren't too many. It's mostly just one big, glaring negative that ruins the entire season. First off, I just want to point out the weird overuse of stock footage this year. Most episodes start with a montage of clips from past episodes.
Gordon is a grand engine. Bash, Dash and Ferdinand are new engines on the island of Sodor. On Misty Island, they bashed and they crashed, which Gordon would never do.
It's a little jarring, and I wonder what the reason behind this was. Just a cost-cutting measure? Sharon Miller wrote 15 of the 20 episodes this season, and it really shows. Now, I don't mean to dump on her personally, of course, but you can really tell that one person wrote the majority of everything here. The whole season feels like it was written over a weekend. I know I sound like a broken record talking about this again, but man, the way these episodes are written, is horrific. They're simply bad. There's no other way to say it. They're templated and they stick to the same basic structure each and every time. They're all predictable, if not frustrating, with how they play out. A good few of these have promising, interesting setups, only to flounder them after the first scene, and the template structure kicks in. I think an episode that puts what I mean into perspective pretty well is Tree Trouble. In this episode, Thomas and the Diesels have a competition to find the biggest Christmas tree, with Dowager Hat as the judge. Already a pretty fun cast, and a fun setup. This has potential. I can only think of what kind of hijinks they'll get up to. But then they just totally waste this premise. It becomes a very boring, formulaic episode where Thomas and the Diesels go to Misty Island all together to find trees. And while watching this, I'm just thinking, this is a competition. Why are they all working together? How much more fun would this episode have been if we cut back and forth between Thomas and the Diesels? Thomas is on Misty Island with the logging locos finding his tree, and the Diesels are bumbling around somewhere on Sodor finding theirs. It'd be a good way to put a spotlight on the new Diesel characters here, and give them some fun moments. Thomas finds a really tall, grand tree, and the Diesels find a pathetic looking one. And then they all meet up by happenstance, and the Diesels accidentally cause Thomas to lose his tree. Like it falls off onto the tracks and Gordon runs it over or something. And then maybe Diesel, in a rare act of kindness, gives up their tree to Thomas. So they all end up having just one tree that they share together. And it may be pathetic and dumpy looking, but at least it's something. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. There's a bunch of directions they could have taken this story and beef up the characters a little bit. But nope, it's just boring, templated trite, and the Diesels hardly speak in it. This is our Diesels episode this year, and Den and Dart, two of our new characters this year, only have like 2 lines in it. I think Diesel himself only has like 4 lines.
Yeah.
I wish I had more to say about the season as a whole, but I don't really. The voice actors are all fine, Michael Brandon is fine, Michelangelo still sounds like he's over it, the music is still good. There really isn't much to comment on there. It's the same old, same old. It's not a long list this time, but here is my list of random observations. Gordon glaring at Ferdinand here when he says "that's right" is funny.
That's right.
Gordon, kinda speaking for the audience here.
Gordon hit a bump in the track.
Whoa! Classic sound effect.
Emily, your face is very strange. I must tell the Fat Controller at once.
Okay, that's a good line. Hero just tells Emily that her face is strange. Like, what a rude comment out of context. Speaking of Hero, I like that they touched on Hero's home and Misty Island both having Joby trees.
Joby logs. There must be Joby trees we can visit.
I thought that was a weird coincidence in Misty Island Rescue, so it's neat that they did something with it, as minor as it is. In Let It Snow, Gordon leaves the logging station with the logs for Sodor at the end. Then Thomas meets up with him, and they go around Misty Island together, and then they go back to the logging station? What? Why did Gordon leave just to come back to the same place? Can someone explain this? Percy's voice changes a bit in the US dub. It sounds pretty normal in Day of the Diesels.
Would you like to deliver the mail with me?
And then it becomes so high-pitched in the season.
Hello, Emily. Would you like to play with me?
What happened here? Very strange. There are 2 episodes that both concern whistles and country shows this year. Not to mention 2 episodes that are about engines blowing their whistles and scaring animals.
Cranky, crankily.
What an utterly uncreative, pointless sentence. In 3rd place this year, we have Gordon with 2 lead roles. In 2nd place, we have a tie between Percy and Toby with 3 leads each. Nice to see Toby rank so high for once. And in 1st place, to no one's shock, is Thomas with 9 leads again this time. There is not really much to say about the main characters this year. It's the same spiel as the last couple seasons, and I would just be repeating myself. But there are a couple outliers, though not for the best reasons. Percy, frankly, just kinda sucks this year. I love that he was the main character of the special this year, but I don't really like him in it. He does have an arc in the movie, and he grows a bit by the end of it. only for it not to matter one bit going into the season, where he becomes a total idiot again. He's even more like a child in the season, getting upset at animals not befriending him, and whatever his deal was with Thomas in the balloon episode.
Big balloons make my boiler bubble, Thomas!
He sucked this year. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I do not like this take on Percy. Give me back the brave, heroic Percy that's fed up with everyone's shit, please. Toby gets used a lot this season, which is nice, and he's kind of all over the place. James to the rescue uses what I'll call classic Toby, and he's easily the highlight of that episode, being the voice of reason, letting James get himself into trouble, only to swoop in and swiftly save the day. It's probably the most Toby that Toby has felt in quite a long time, and it's nice to see the James and Toby rivalry get touched on again. A very underrated duo. At the other end of the spectrum, Big Bell uses the pathetic beta Toby that we all dread, having him be afraid of being around Belle and running away from her. And then Toby and Bash uses this weird new dismissive version of Toby. He tries to help Bash find a home on Sodor, and takes no notice of how Bash is feeling.
Bash wished away.
Don't worry, Bash. I've another idea.
Can't say that I'm a big fan of this take on Toby either. As far as new characters go, we got Belle, the fire truck train hybrid thing. Belle's character is whatever. She's pretty generic. Just a typical happy character, clearly only here to sell toys. Belle's design makes no sense either. Like, firefighting engines did indeed exist, and that is an interesting concept to bring into the show, but not like this.
Does she have like fire engine lights on her front? Do you see that? Does she? Look at that. the red fire truck lights.
Oh my gosh. What a horrible design. They really just said, how can we make this train a fire truck? It's played out like the water that Belle uses to put out fires is the same water that she uses to make steam. Honestly, had they just given Belle a water tender or a tanker or something to explain that, I wouldn't really take that much issue with her. And get rid of those stupid fire truck lights. Seriously, why does she have those? She doesn't run on the roads. There's apparently a theory that Belle, at least in the Nitrogen seasons, wasn't actually a part of the rescue team. It's never textually stated that she works for them at any point, she doesn't wear their logo, and she doesn't appear with them when they're all together next season. So, by this logic, she's just a random tank engine that just so happens to be fitted with water cannons that Topham just so happens to own because reasons. I don't know if I fully buy it because they do show her at the rescue center in Day of the Diesels, but I figured I'd still mention it since it is kind of an interesting theory. There is some evidence behind it. Fiery Flynn is... well, he certainly exists. They tried to make a train look like a fire truck, only to just bring in a literal fire truck. I don't even know why Flynn is here, other than the obvious. Day of the Diesels didn't really need him. His role could have so easily just been played by Belle. He comes in halfway through the story to play the same role in the story that Belle was already playing, the new face that Thomas spends time with to make Percy jealous. But we gotta squeeze out as many toys as possible out of this thing, right? Flynn might be the dumbest character introduced in the show so far. I'll get to his episode shortly. Den and Dart I actually like, though they don't do much this year, and they hardly get any focus. The Diesel Works having its own set of locomotives to man the yard and sort things makes sense. They fit into the world pretty well, I think. I like their designs and their characterizations. Den is slow and bumbling, but he's the bronze, and Dart is small, but clearly the brains. They got kind of a George and Lenny thing going on. I noticed that Den's voice changes a couple times this year.
If you're broken, we fix you.
I think. Well, what I mean is...
Fiery Flynn fudges it!
What on earth happened there? Were those temp tracks that got left in? We got the 3 Glup Shadow Diesels too. Norman, Paxton, and Sydney. It's so interesting seeing these 3 here as just background dressing, knowing that they all become pretty established recurring characters later on in the show, especially Paxton. Seeing Paxton be portrayed as a troublemaker here and join the Diesels taking over the Steamworks is so weird. A glaring contrast with how he is characterized later on. I love how they establish that Sydney is stuck in the Dieselworks without wheels, and they don't show him joining the others when they charge the Steamworks. So, Sydney was canonically inside the Diesel Works when it caught fire, right? I want to see this part of the movie from his perspective. Can you imagine? Something I can praise Season 15 for is how much it uses the side cast. After 2 seasons of getting pretty much only the Steam team in the spotlight, it's a breath of fresh air to see so much focus on other characters. This is the first season in a long time that Thomas doesn't have the premiere episode. He actually doesn't get a lead until 7 episodes in. That is crazy. They actually let Thomas take a backseat this year. The Logging Locos got a trilogy, the first time in a long time that we've had a multi-parter. Each episode focuses on one of them being paired with another engine. Ferdinand with Gordon, Bash with Toby, and Dash with Emily. They are a bit overused this season. They're in a ton of episodes. And I find this 3-parter kind of a missed opportunity. The episodes are all focused on the engine that they get paired with, not on the Logging Locos themselves. We don't really learn much of anything about them from these. Bash is the outlier in his episode. We learn that he grows homesick when he's away from Misty Island. It's not much, but it's something at least. I thought it was kind of funny that he's scared of cows.
And Bash huffed away in a hurry.
Ferdinand also was given the opportunity to say more than 2 words, which I guess is neat.
Of course I will. I'll go and get Rocky right away. You look after Mr. Lion.
It's a little surreal hearing him say full sentences. Spencer got a lead, which was surprising. Now, I've seen people say that his episode is one of the alright ones this year, because it's a rare glimmer of Spencer being a decent person for once. But I don't know. This one feels kinda wrong to me. Like, this shouldn't be a Spencer episode. He goes the whole episode being pompous, only to have this random change of heart when he finds out that Percy is out lost in the fog somewhere. I feel like this is more of a Gordon type of story, not really Spencer. Like, why does Spencer all of a sudden care so much about Percy's well-being? Like, with Gordon, I would get why. But with Spencer, it feels totally random, considering he's never shown any empathy for the other characters prior to this. But hey, maybe that's just me. I found it pretty boring, honestly, and visually, really hard to look at. You can't see anything! I get that that's the whole point. It's so foggy that the characters themselves can't make anything out, but as a viewer, it's just unpleasant to watch. I think about foggy episodes in the model series, and how those got the point across just fine, while still being nice to look at. There was a big focus on the non-rail characters this year. Many of them got some time in the spotlight. Kevin got an episode, as did Butch, Birdie, and of course Flynn. Harold appeared quite a bit, and even Trevor got a cameo. Birdie speaks for the first time in CGI, and gets to be a lead in an episode. It's really nice to see him again, but I have some thoughts on him, which I'll talk about more in a bit. For the first time ever, Butch speaks. You know, Butch, the tow truck that's only been in the background of the past, 10 seasons? I have no idea why they decided to bring in Butch of all characters and give him a speaking role. Like, who at HIT suggested this? But I'm not complaining about it. After Sir Handel's return in Season 10, Butch is the second major returnee character to the show. I remember the reaction to this was crazy when it first aired. It was the total highlight of the season. His episode really isn't that special, though. They gave him a magnet instead of a typical tow hook, and we all know the only reason they did that is because the Butch toys use magnets. This entire episode was written around that sole gimmick. It's pretty lame. I'm happy to see Butch regardless, though. It's nice that they're branching out and bringing in more old characters. Cranky doesn't do much, but he does have this moment where he befriends a seagull.
This is my friend, Seagull.
Now, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I thought it was worth mentioning here because it's consistent with what we're told about Cranky back in Season 6.
And his only company are the gulls that settle on his arm.
Now, my pick for the season's MVP may surprise you, but it's easily my favorite character this year. Dowager Hat. Yes, I'm serious. In a year of totally brainless, annoying characters, Dowager Hat stands out as a real highlight. She's present in many episodes this year, and every time she popped up, it made that episode a little better. Her sole episode last year was a real watershed moment. You can tell that they had fun with her, so they just continued to use her. I love it. They started playing up the humor in Topham's relationship with her this year. He's kind of afraid of her when she gets angry.
Hurry, Thomas. My mother doesn't like to wait.
The way he says that implies so much about the relationship that we haven't seen yet. I like how she just takes command of whatever situation she's in. Like how she just kind of takes charge of Birdie's rescue. Or how she declares herself the judge of the Christmas tree contest.
What japes! A competition! I shall be the judge.
Keith Wickham is just having a blast voicing her. You can just tell. Ain't it funny how two random one-offs from Season 5 both rose to recurring status this year? Peculiar, ain't it? There are so many picks for worst episode this year. There are a total of 5 that I considered for the worst crap I've ever seen, and I think each could easily be the flag carrier for lowest point of the franchise. Wonky Whistle is the obvious pick for worst episode of the season. It's notorious for how bad it is. It may be the quintessential example of the typical Nitrogen era episode experience. Thomas is the biggest idiot ever here. The plot is about him blowing his broken whistle, which frightens everyone he comes across and causes problems. The glaring issue with this is that Thomas is unable to hear his own whistle.
And don't be slow!
Thomas's wonky whistle scared Farmer McCall's prize cow.
Is he deaf? He can't hear how broken his whistle is? It's such trash. Fiery Flynn is unbelievably stupid. The plot of this is Flynn is trying to prove to Diesel that he's good at his job, I think. So he rushes off to save a blue engine that's on fire. He thinks it's Edward, then Gordon, and he whooshes them with water, only to find out that they're not on fire.
You're not on fire?
Is this guy blind? Do you see any smoke, Flynn? Goodness gracious, dude. Then he finds Thomas, who is on fire. But it's his firebox that's on fire?
His firebox was on fire.
Does that even make sense? Like if it got out of control and spread to his cab or something, sure. But that's not what they said here. Yes, the firebox is on fire. And also, water is wet, and the ground is made of ground. So Flynn tries to rescue Thomas, and then he finds out he's out of water because he wasted it all earlier. So he enlists the Diesel's help, and their crews all jump into action.
You will save Thomas.
And I'm just here thinking, those crew guys could have jumped in at any time to save Thomas. Because they clearly didn't need Flynn to do it. So what, they just stood there and watched Thomas burn for how long? Until Flynn got there? So Flynn takes the credit for the rescue and then thanks the Diesels for their help, who all just sat there and did nothing, and not the people who actually did the work.
Thank you, Diesels!
Thank you, my firefighter friends!
What an awful episode. And an awful lead character. Flynn sucks. I don't like this guy. This is the episode that I choose for the sum up this year, by the way. It's the typical season 15 experience. Dumb plot, dumb characters, makes use of the new toys, and it has Dowager Hat.
Fiddlesticks and fenders! Hold on to your hats!
Season 15 in a nutshell. The complete lack of logic present in James to the Rescue is astounding, just so the plot can happen. James and Toby are the rescue engines today and are tasked with re-railing Gordon. And James thinks he can rescue Gordon by pulling him, and then pushing him, and then ramming into him.
He hit Gordon's buffer with a biff and a bash and a terrible smash.
Did James really think doing any of that would somehow re-rail Gordon? I know James is kind of an idiot usually, that's like his thing, but this is just a whole new level. Everyone is so brainless this year, it's frustrating. Toby's the highlight of this episode. Thank goodness he's here for some levity. And the astounding lack of logic persists in Up, Up, and Away, the infamous episode where Thomas and Percy transport a balloon on a flatbed. I have so many questions. Why are the trains delivering something as remedial as a balloon? Why are 2 engines needed for this job? Why are the balloons being blown up before being transported? Why does Mr. Bubbles stay at the docks and not go with them to the show? Why is he, a human, blowing all these balloons up? They literally show us that he blew up the balloons all by himself. He's winded afterward. They do know that balloons blown up by humans don't float, right? They need helium to float. Oh my god, this is such garbage. A real low point for the franchise. But as bad as all of these episodes are, I think there is a worse one that trumps them all. My pick for worst episode this season is Percy's New Friends. Everyone is too busy to play with Percy. Huh, similar setup as Day of the Diesels. The drastically different directions that each take is a funny contrast. Percy decides to befriend animals, but he's too loud and he keeps scaring them away. This is the plot of a Thomas the Tank Engine episode. Every other bad episode I just talked about sucks really hard, like really hard, but they all at least have a glimmer of something. Like Up, Up, and Away at least has this funny line.
My hat!
My hat!
My hat!
All the hats were hatless.
James to the Rescue at least has Toby being Toby and a cool crash. Fiery Flynn at least has a fun cast. Wonky Whistle at the furthest stretch at least has a moral. Percy's New Friends doesn't even have that. At least not a good one anyway. What even is the moral of this one? Learn to be quiet around animals so you can befriend them and take them away from their habitats and bring them home with you? Like, seriously? That's how the episode ends?
Everyone, meet my new friends.
This is awful. Just awful. As for my favorites, I totally recognize that my answer should probably be Edward the Hero. It's genuinely the best episode of the lot. It's a sort of day in the life of Edward type of story, and how he helps everyone he comes across without even realizing it. It has a good moral, and Edward's in character. I also like that Charlie still calls Edward Eddie from last season.
You're funny, Eddie. Thank you.
Solid continuity. But if I said that this was my favorite, I would be lying. The episode that I actually got the most out of this year, and what I would also say is the season's standout, is Stop That Bus. This is an episode that is so off-the-wall crazy that it somehow wraps around from being bad to being good again. At the very least, entertaining. Like, everything here is wrong, and doesn't really make sense. Birdie is waiting to pick up Dowager Hat for something. Why does Birdie wait in the middle of nowhere for Dowager Hat? Wouldn't it make more sense for him to drive to her house to pick her up? Who's driving Dowager to this random spot in the middle of the countryside to meet a bus? And why can't whoever drove her there just drive her to tea or wherever she's going? I'd also argue that Birdie's character is wrong. Birdie's whole thing has always been that he thinks he's superior to Thomas because he's not stuck to the rails like him. Like, yeah, they're friends, of course, and they help each other out, but Birdie has always maintained that opinion. That's why he always wants to race Thomas, to prove himself.
But I still won the race, tooted Bertie.
Here, he just freely admits to Thomas that he's jealous of him.
You see things I can never see. You do things I can never do. I wait to pick up passengers.
This is not Birdie. Birdie would never say that. So Thomas takes Birdie on a tour from the rails because, f it, why not? And every scene following this makes a baffling decision that just raises the eyebrows higher and higher. They wind up on Misty Island, and then Birdie falls off the flatbed onto the Shake Shake Bridge. Good lord. Topham and Birdie's driver conveniently show up right after, on a pump trolley of all things. They pump that thing all the way to Misty Island? Jeez, these guys must be ripped. Topham is afraid of his mother?
My mother doesn't like to wait.
Okay, that's just funny. Thomas goes back to pick up Dowager, and her and her friends all cram into his cab and push his driver around. Each visual just gets funnier and funnier. Like, at this point, I am locked in. They are fully committing to how silly this is. And then the way that they rescue Birdie. They have a herald lift him off the bridge. Sure, why the hell not? And then to finish it all off, they ride back in Birdie on Thomas's flatbed. Because yeah, that's safe. And the pump trolley follows them. Amazing. This one is all over the place. It feels like a kid making the story up with his toys as he goes along. Thomas carries Birdie, and then they go to Misty Island, and then Birdie falls onto the bridge, and then Harold lifts him. I got you, Birdie. And then Sir Topham Hat and his mommy all go home, and they ride in Birdie. It's balls to the walls with its humor and its no rules apply mentality. I cannot say that they didn't have fun while storyboarding this one. It's so tongue-in-cheek that it manages to wrap its way around from being bad to somehow being enjoyable. And I think it's because this one wasn't predictable like everything else. The little humorous moments come out of nowhere, and they hit you like a truck and keep your attention. It's still a pretty bad episode by Thomas standards, but I did not dread this one at all like I did for most of the others this season. It's a so bad, it's good type of episode. The word I would use to describe Season 15? Insanity. Season 15 is insanity. It's pretty horribly written, and the characters are totally brainless. But I didn't dread it as much as the previous 2 seasons. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I feel like Season 15 has quite a bit more going on for it than Season 14 did. There's certainly more to talk about with it. This year played a lot with the expanded cast. They put Percy in the spotlight of the movie. The Logging Locos got a trilogy. They gave Bertie, Kevin, Spencer, and Butch of all characters their own episodes. Thomas isn't as forced down our throats this year. The animation direction's a lot more interesting, and the pacing is quite a bit snappier. None of these positives, of course, excuse how badly the season is written though. Writing is everything, and if your episode has nothing but awful dialogue that's hard to sit through, and they all stick to a predictable, templated structure, well, then your episodes just aren't very good. I don't know what to tell you. I've said it before and I'll say it again here. Every aspect of this era, the animation, the score, the voice direction, we're all firing on all cylinders, except for the writing. And that is such a gargantuan shame. You can tell that Nitrogen was doing what they could to work with the crap material they were given. But no matter how much you polish a turd, it's still a turd. But hey, at least Dowager Hat was consistently fun, right? The rare glimmer of gold in this dumpster fire. It's hard to rank the Nitrogen seasons, because they really do all just sort of blend together. But I think Season 15 has the most going on for it of the 3 so far. But if we are including the movies, which we are since we're covering them with the seasons, then I think Season 13 still tops it because it has Hero of the Rails, which at this point in the retrospective is still the best thing to come out of CGI Thomas. But all that is about to change come the next season. Only good things lie ahead. Since this video was so Diesel 10 heavy, and with the holidays around the corner, I think there's only one video appropriate to spotlight here. How Diesel 10 Stole Christmas by Epic Lapitu. This is such a creative take on the original Grinch story, with Diesel 10 as the leading man. Splatter and Dodge get brought into it too. It's a really fun time. And such great voice acting throughout this, especially with Diesel 10 and his cronies. It's a couple years old now, so chances are you've already seen it, but it is almost Christmas, so why not go and watch it again? Big thank you to Trampy for once again watching a Thomas movie with me at gunpoint. I mean, of his own free will. Our Day of the Diesels rewatch highlights is up on the Lucky Tug right now. The highlights reel alone is over 40 minutes. Our full uncut watch-along is up now on Patreon. So if you'd like to see that, head on over and pledge today. Links are all in the description. I'd like to thank all my patrons and all of you watching for your support and your patience. I know you've all been asking for the Season 15 video for a while now, and I hope this delivered. It was a little tough to get through, but hopefully the next one won't be so bad. We are nearing the end of 2025 now. What a crazy year it's been for the Thomas fandom. So many reveals, events, and lost media uncoverings. Before the year ends, I'd love to do a big recap video on all that's happened during Thomas's 80th anniversary, now that we've seen pretty much everything. That'll likely be the next video, but we shall see how December plays out. That's all from me, folks. Enjoy your Christmas season, and I shall see you all again in the next one. Bye-bye.